I've talked about Sonic himself multiple times, and that won't stop. And at some point, I had to make a video on his arch nemesis, Dr. Eggman. The two most iconic characters in the series. They've been there since the first game. But strangely enough, there's one other element that's always stuck with Sonic since 1991, and has been carried all the way to 2001, 30 years and more. Besides the speed-based loop-the-loop levels and nostalgic-based music from booting up your Genesis and GameCube, it's that one very simple thing that separated him from Mario during his debut. And while with keeping the parallel, it's about as important as Mario's power-ups, that golden ratio and distinctive sound. The ring. Now, some of you might be thinking, seriously, you wasted your time on making an entire video about the damn rings in Sonic? And for you, good sir, all I have to say is, come on, I try and make these fun and different. It's either this or taking a ticket to wait in line to talk about how Sonic Colors Ultimate sucks, and well, I don't care about that. I want to talk about random bullshit from the things I like, and the rings from the Sonic the Hedgehog is gonna be one of them. Now, I'm not really going to go into arduous detail about how every other different ring works in each game, because that would just lead me to reading an entire Wikipedia page with nothing less added, and I don't really do that here, or try not to as much as possible. However, I can at least start with the basics. Yes, the ring. It's been a major staple of the Sonic series and, well, probably couldn't be counted as a Sonic game without them. They are everywhere and can almost do everything, unlike the Chaos Emeralds, which really can do anything. Rings are mostly used to give Sonic and friends just those extra hit points. You only need one to just take another hit, and you can have as many as you want at a time in a level or stage, and no, we still don't know where Sonic puts all the rings that he collects. Though, combined with the Chaos Emeralds, having at least 50 rings or more grants the user the ability to transform into a nearly limitless high-energy being, mostly known as a super form, and then you can really do whatever you want. If I'm being honest, I'm not really going to cover super forms and transformations in detail in this video, because that is definitely its own thing. Anyways, rings come in all, well, not really different shapes, but in various sizes for sure, and good freaking fights, we'd be here all day if I covered every single one. Really now, besides the cooler ones, which I'll get into, I don't think you need me to go in extreme depth of what a dash ring is. Sonic goes through it and he goes flying, and that's it. Same with the rainbow rings, just with tricks added. And it's cool. Some could say good, great, awesome, outstanding, amazing! But there's a lot of rings that are just mostly there to fit the gameplay in Sonic's universe, you could say. Oh, with having 50 rings by the end of a level, instead of just appearing there or going through a wormhole, the portal to the special zone is a giant ring. Or something similar being that of Dr. Finitive's warp rings in the comics, or with them being used in the movies. This thing here on the Knuckles Chaotix box art, that's not a rubber band, that's ring power. It's when two rings are permanently attached and can be used in various ways, and it's for sure not resistance band being used as a toy.
Okay, here I go!
Bombs? Nah. Dummy rings that explode, because yes, but you get the idea. A lot of what I'm going over mostly derives from the games, and yeah, they do their thing for the game, and that's about it. Now, there are special ones that are more than just simple cosmetic choices, or things that unlock simple cosmetic choices. The first example I can think of are Shadow's inhibitor rings. I assume most of you know what these are by now, but to briefly touch upon them, these are rings that limit Shadow so he doesn't use too much chaos energy and exhaust himself, but when he does take them off, he's able to use his full raw power. Stronger, faster, more energy, which tells you that most of the shit that he does is only like 50% of his power. Now, without a doubt, those who know about this can easily think of that really fucking cool scene from 06, where it's the only time in the games where Shadow takes them off voluntarily. That's technically not the first time it's happened though. Surprisingly, Sonic X was the one to present the idea of Shadow taking them off to enhance his power. So I guess that's one of the few things where we have to thank X for. And the Archie comics also pay homage to this idea every now and then, and it's dope to see. That's the first set of rings that actually have some sort of lore or meaning to them. The second set would probably have to be the biggest one, the 7 World Rings.
Make believe
Now these are rings that not only have collectibles written on them, but have some real plot connected to them. Mind you, where they come from is out of the world of the Arabian Nights. I never really thought I would have secret rings be a focal point in one of my videos, but here I am. Putting aside the disjointed mess of a plot that secret rings kinda had, the world rings are pretty interesting. At first glance, you can just chalk them up to being another version of the Chaos Emeralds, similar to the Soul Emeralds or even the Time Stone to some degree. The 7 world rings are a bit more complex though. Chaos Emeralds practically just have some sort of boundless power, and the cast use them for whatever trouble there is. Anyone, and I mean anyone, can get a hold of a Chaos Emerald and use it however they want. First off, the world rings can't just be picked up by some random numbnut, and they literally can't. They say that only those who are not of the Arabian Nights world can touch them, which led into the idea that the world rings were that of mythical items instead. But say you are the very small percentage that can hold the rings, well, that opens the gates for you. No, seriously, one of the ring's powers is that of opening the gates of the Night Palace. Sonic even said himself that having all of them could potentially open the gates of hell, and with the fact that only a very few select people can even wield the rings is practically gatekeeping. So I'm seeing a theme going on here. Each one seems to have different abilities they can unleash, like with the Aqua one being able to summon storms and severe weather, as well as the fact that the rings have emotions attached to them. The one I just brought up is linked to the emotion of pleasure. Red rage, blue hope, yellow happiness, and the rest follows as it shows here. All that just from one of them. Only one. But if you want to harness, say, all of them, you would have to perform a sacrifice to the one who collected the rings, which was basically the story for Secret Rings. But since Sonic didn't take the sacrificial bullet and Shara did, the power and form given to Eraser Jin was incomplete, and he ended up becoming this, I don't know what you call this besides an abomination, and Sonic was actually the same way. He just got half of the power, for he accidentally used 4 of the 7 rings to become Darkspine Sonic. Oh wait, correction. He used 3 of the rings actually, which is weird because I thought the idea of the design would be that of the rings being on his wrists and ankles, so where's the 4th ring coming from? Shara perhaps? He does say lend me your power, but she dies beforehand, so I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into something that doesn't really have an answer and it's just a simple design choice. But if anything, it's a good thing that Sonic only absorbed 3 of the rings, because clearly the immense power of all 7 is way too much for anyone to handle. Mostly from the fact that the ritual went awry. So these are 2 incomplete forms duking it out. Interesting. And seeing it all from a general viewpoint, this was all from the world rings. Powers, linked emotions, and sacrificial customs. Quite frankly, a bit more to talk about than gems that technically aren't even the right cut. So the world rings are without a doubt the most in-depth rings in the series, and surprisingly, they don't really make any sort of full appearance in the comics as an actual story arc. I would love to see how the Archie comics, if it was still going, or the IDW comics would incorporate that. Well, that was just for the games. What are the rings like on TV, perhaps? Specifically with Sonic SatAM, rings, or a power ring, are pretty much treated as the win button when Sonic uses it. Oh no, there's some sort of problem? Just wait for a power ring and we'll win. Game, set, go home, everyone. And this kind of carried over into Sonic X as well, at least for the first season or so, where the main threat was just Eggman and his creations, so nothing was taken too seriously, and it was just another Thursday and baseball on Friday, until, well, you know, robot space pirates. I guess that's what I can call them at RX. But that's really it when it comes to the rings from the show. Nothing too insane or exclusive like with the world rings. But come on, you guys know me, it wouldn't be a Sonic video without the use of the comics coming up. And starting with the one that I'm most familiar with, being the Archie run. Rings in this universe are that of a byproduct of Chaos Emeralds when this human character, or what they call an Overlander, Nate Morgan, found a way to create different source from the Emeralds, and thus the Power Rings were brought into the world. When Sonic and Tails found Nate Morgan, he had an entire stash of rings, and simultaneously they were fighting up against Anxus Nagus, this wizard villain, and both transformed into Ultrasonic and Hyper Tails, from absorbing 100, 300, maybe even nearly 1,000 rings at once. Besides being used as a fossil fuel, power source, and sometimes a slight power-up for Sonic and others from time to time, There really isn't much purpose for the rings outside of those means, or any other special ones. Well, correction, there was the Ring of Acorns, which could grant wishes, and Amy used it to make herself look older. And that's it. But forget about the fact that Elias, who originally wanted to use it, he was going to use it to bring his mother out of a comatose state that she's been in for about 5 to 10 years. But hey, this is how Amy got her modern design. Neat, right? And I guess the last real ring that's worth talking about is Sonic's 1 billionth ring. I'm pretty sure I brought this up in my Eggman video, and I said 1 millionth ring, so I was a little bit off. My bad. Anyways, what makes this one special? Nothing. Nothing really. I mean, it saved them from life or death twice, but other than that, nothing to really dive into or really interesting to talk about. There are some other ones in the whole series, like with the gravity rings from Zero Gravity, or better known as the Arc of the Cosmos. You know, bracelets that would allow someone to slightly create distortions in mass and gravity to ultimately push something. And you want to know the crazy thing? Apparently how they make up for the other characters that use these is the creation of gravity bands, which are replicas of the original thing. That's why, gameplay-wise at least, Knuckles is able to use one, but it's not the one that Sonic has throughout the story or any of the real ones that are collected. So, that's something. The official ones make an appearance in the comics for a few issues, and that's about it. But they're not used to almighty push something, they just create bubbles and force fields. There's also 1 or 2 special kinds of rings from the UK comics, or Fleetway, which quite frankly I have almost no real knowledge on. Simple search results will tell me that there's the Ring of Eternity, this creation or being that knows everything, literally everything in their universe, and was probably created by dinosaurs. I don't know. What I do know, and at the same time don't really know, is that of Sonic and Robotnik's origin in Fleetway were heavily inspired by Sonic the Bible. I know that from trying to find a reason on why Sega chose rings for Sonic in the first place. And honestly, I couldn't find anything that satisfied me or anything really official, as in, what was the creative process to choose rings? Mario has coins, so punch a hole in it and you get a ring, maybe? I mean, the rings transcend through space and time, I know that, as in the ring effect is also used in some gas stations for the cash registers.
You have a nice day. Damn!
See? His cash register makes Sonic sounds, man.
Why is this? Basically a chain of events and business domino effect. By the time of the early 2000s, we start with Sega, who had some of their intellectual properties brought by another company named Sammy. They're mostly known, or they were known, for pachinko-type games and had something to do with outsourcing to a third party that makes specific cash registers that are plastered all over the US, and most likely use the ring sound effect in their machines. Someone could probably get the details down below, and that'd be nice, but that's pretty much it when it comes to the rings. The golden circle that's always been there in Sonic's life, helping him fight off against egg-shaped men, demonic creatures, or anything in between. Now, for those who know, I am also aware that I did skip over a few rings, like the red rings from Colors or Generations. That's because there's a little bit more lore with that, but that's going into transformation territory if I do dive into that. And I want to save that for the transformations video, or the super forms. So don't worry, if I didn't talk about a certain aspect or a specific ring, I will most likely expand upon it within that video. Same with Ultrasonic and more, so look forward to that. And yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to rings within Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, there's not too much to really go over. The world rings really do take the first place prize in terms of like how much depth and lore there was, but seriously, I really wanted to try and find what was the reason on why rings. Why have this be the thing that Sonic collects? Besides like the typical like, oh, gameplay ideas, like it protects you and that's just about it, and it's incentive to keep you going and everything, it gives you a high score. But I wanted to know the behind the scenes reasons, and I really couldn't find anything, unfortunately. I had to do this script over again because I wanted to really find that and try and learn something new, but I didn't really learn anything, and it felt like I kind of wasted my time. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video other than that, but let me know what you think in the comments below. You know what to do with all the links that I provide and everything of the sort. Thank you for watching, that's greatly appreciated, of course. Have a great day, have a great night, and everything else, you know what to do. Bye.